How do you decide the exact moment a human being is truly dead? Not poetically, not emotionally, but medically, legally, and ethically. Because for most of human history, death was simple. If the heart stopped beating and breathing ceased, life was over. Yet in the modern world, this once clear boundary has become blurred, contested, and redefined by doctors, technology, and society itself, turning death from a single moment into a complex process. And this redefinition has changed everything from intensive care units and organ transplantation to law, religion, and how families say goodbye. The story begins long before ventilators and brain scans, when death was visible and undeniable, cold skin, still chest, silence, and decomposition. But the invention of modern resuscitation shattered this certainty. CPR, defibrillation, mechanical ventilation, and intensive care made it possible to restart hearts, breathe for lungs, and keep bodies alive long after nature would have declared the end. And suddenly, doctors faced an uncomfortable question humanity had never seriously confronted before. If machines can maintain heartbeat and breathing, what does it really mean to be alive? Is life defined by circulation, by consciousness, by brain activity, or by something less measurable? This question became urgent in the mid-20th century, as ICUs expanded and patients with catastrophic brain injuries could be kept biologically stable, indefinitely, bodies warm, hearts beating, blood flowing, yet with no awareness, no response, no chance of recovery, and families stood at bedsides, looking at loved ones who appeared alive but were fundamentally absent, forcing medicine to confront a brutal reality. Technology had outpaced philosophy. In 1968, a landmark moment arrived when the Harvard Medical School Committee proposed a new definition: brain death, the irreversible loss of all brain function, including the brainstem, arguing that a person whose brain had permanently ceased to function was dead, even if machines kept the heart beating. This was not a scientific discovery, but a medical and ethical decision, a redefinition designed to match modern reality. And it was controversial from the start. Critics argued that redefining death conveniently aligned with the emerging field of organ transplantation, allowing organs to be taken while circulation was still intact. Supporters argued that continuing to treat brain-dead patients as alive was a category error that prolonged suffering and confusion, and over time, brain death became accepted in law and medicine across much of the world, including the USA and UK. Yet acceptance did not erase discomfort, because brain death looks nothing like traditional death. The patient is warm, pink, sometimes even able to digest food, wounds heal, pregnancies have been carried to term in brain-dead women, facts that deeply unsettle the intuitive idea of death as decay. And this gap between biological appearance and neurological reality continues to fuel public misunderstanding and mistrust. Doctors like Dr. Rohin Francis often highlight that medicine is forced to draw lines where nature does not provide clear ones, and death is one of the most uncomfortable examples. Because the brain is not just another organ, it is the seat of personality, memory, and identity. When it is irreversibly destroyed, the person as we understand them no longer exists, even if the body continues. But explaining this to families is emotionally devastating, and emotionally devastating truths are rarely accepted easily. Further complicating matters is the distinction between brain death and states that appear similar but are not death, such as coma, vegetative state, and minimally conscious state, conditions often confused in media and public discourse, leading people to believe doctors are giving up too early, when in fact brain death requires rigorous testing, absence of brainstem reflexes, no spontaneous breathing, and confirmation of irreversibility. Repeated and documented, yet despite strict criteria, mistrust persists. Partly because redefining death feels like shifting goalposts, and partly because death is not just a medical event, it is a cultural, religious, and moral one. Different belief systems define life differently. Some tie it to breath, others to heartbeat, others to soul, and medicine's definition does not always align neatly with these views, creating ethical tension in hospitals every day, particularly in multicultural societies like the UK and USA, where clinicians must balance scientific standards with respect for deeply held beliefs. And the redefinition of death did not stop with brain death. It continues to evolve as advances in neuroscience, imaging, and resuscitation challenge existing boundaries. Researchers have documented cases of brain activity minutes after cardiac arrest, cells remaining viable long after circulation stops, and experimental technologies that restore some cellular functions post-mortem, raising unsettling questions about how irreversible death truly is at the microscopic level. Yet medicine draws its line not at cellular survival, but at the loss of the integrated functioning that makes a person, and this pragmatic approach is necessary. Because without a clear definition, healthcare systems would collapse under uncertainty, ICUs would never empty, organs would never be transplanted, and families would be trapped in endless limbo. But necessity does not erase moral discomfort, and this discomfort fuels conspiracy theories, sensational headlines, and fears that doctors declare death prematurely, when in reality the criteria are deliberately conservative. Because declaring death is one of the most serious decisions a physician can make, the redefinition of death also forced society to confront uncomfortable truths about end-of-life care. When death became a process rather than a moment, decisions about withdrawing life support became ethically central, not because doctors want to cause death, but because continuing treatment in a brain-dead patient does not preserve life. It preserves biological function without personhood, and distinguishing between killing and allowing death became one of modern medicine's most complex debates. These debates intensified with organ donation, a practice that saves countless lives but relies entirely on public trust in the definition of death. If people believe doctors are wrong or dishonest, donation collapses and lives are lost. Which is why transparency matters. Why explaining how death is defined is not academic but essential, yet public understanding remains poor. Shaped more by television dramas than medical reality, where miraculous awakenings are common and brain death is reversible, despite no documented cases of true brain death ever reversing, this gap between fiction and fact creates false hope and deepens grief when reality asserts itself. And the redefinition of death also exposes a deeper truth that medicine does not create certainty, it manages uncertainty, drawing lines that are useful rather than philosophically perfect. Because biology does not respect human categories, life fades gradually, systems fail at different times, and medicine must decide when enough is enough. And this decision reflects not just science, but values, compassion, and practicality. Critics worry about slippery slopes, supporters worry about prolonging suffering. And both concerns are valid, because redefining death was never about convenience alone. It was about adapting ancient concepts to modern capabilities. And that adaptation will continue as technology advances, as artificial organs, neural interfaces, and life support systems grow more powerful. Society will be forced to revisit what it means to be alive again and again, and doctors will once more be placed at the uncomfortable intersection of biology and meaning, making decisions that feel cold but are grounded in necessity. Understanding this history does not remove the pain of loss, but it can replace suspicion with clarity, fear with context, and outrage with understanding. Death was not redefined because doctors wanted power over life. It was redefined because medicine gained power over the body without gaining power over the mind. And a new line had to be drawn somewhere. If you want thoughtful, evidence-based medical explanations that explore not just how medicine works, but why it makes uncomfortable decisions, then make sure you subscribe to MedLogic. Because understanding modern medicine begins with understanding the questions it is forced to answer.